Last Friday at 5:01 p.m., a deadline passed. Dario Amodei, CEO of Anthropic, had until that moment to agree to let the US military use his AI for any lawful purpose: mass domestic surveillance. Fully autonomous weapons. Whatever they decide is legal. He said no. At 5:14 p.m., the Pentagon designated Anthropic a supply chain risk to national security, a label previously reserved for foreign adversaries. Trump ordered every federal agency to stop using Anthropic's technology. Every military contractor, Boeing, Lockheed Martin, all of them, required to certify they don't use Anthropic products. Hours later, OpenAI signed a deal with the Pentagon. Same stated red lines. Nobody knows what OpenAI actually agreed to. The language hasn't been disclosed. Dario paid the price. Sam signed the deal.
To understand why he drew the line, you have to go back. His father died in 2006. A rare disease. At the time, there was nothing they could do. 4 years later, there was. The same disease, 95% curable. 4 years too late. That is the clock he says he still hears, not abstract progress, lost time. He moved from biophysics into AI because AI can compress time. Not in theory, in medicine, in research, in discovery. He helped build the engine of this race. Then, he became one of the few people willing to say what the race would cost. He pledged to give most of his fortune away. He warned that AI could wipe out half of entry-level white-collar work. He said it while other CEOs were still selling reassurance. Then, Anderson Cooper asked him the real question. Who elected you and Sam Altman to make these decisions? He said, no one. Honestly, no one. That is the honest part. In 2021, Anthropic told investors and colleagues it would not push the frontier of AI capability. That was not branding. It was the core promise. The policy said they would not train or deploy systems unless safety measures were adequate in advance. That was the difference. Then the language changed. October 2024, revised. Then again. An internal timeline in this cut places the next major rewrite in February 2026. Revised again. 3 years, 4 versions, each one weaker. Always announced quietly, often discovered by journalists instead of disclosed by the company. Then Anthropic's own chief scientist said the quiet part out loud. If competitors are blazing ahead, unilateral commitments stop making sense. That is the trap. If you fall behind, your models become irrelevant. If your models become irrelevant, nobody listens to you on safety. If nobody listens, the people who care least make the decisions. So to stay relevant, you race. To race, you weaken the promise. Then you write a new version of the policy, quieter, weaker. And then the Pentagon comes. That contradiction points to the real mechanism. Here's what I didn't understand about the Pentagon fight at first. The confrontation wasn't really about Dario's values. It was about the fact that for 3 years, Anthropic's usage policies were doing the job a law was supposed to do. The wall was simple. No mass surveillance, no autonomous weapons. A private company had drawn the line. And that line was standing where law should have been. Not Congress, not the Constitution, a corporate policy. A corporate policy that could be amended, renegotiated, or abandoned with the next CEO, the next board, the next acquisition. During negotiations, Palantir offered Anthropic a monitoring classifier, a technical layer that would make the problem manageable. Dario's assessment: maybe 20% real and 80% safety theater. But here's the part that stuck with me. According to Dario, Palantir's actual pitch was this: you have some unhappy employees. You need to offer them something that placates them or makes what is happening invisible to them. And that's the service we provide. Palantir wasn't offering a safety solution. They were offering concealment, a way to make the compromise invisible to the people inside who might object. Anthropic said no. OpenAI said yes. Near the end of negotiations, the Pentagon offered to accept all of Anthropic's terms, every single red line, if they deleted one phrase: analysis of bulk acquired data. That's the surveillance clause. The one thing the Pentagon said they didn't even want to do. They just needed it gone from the contract language. Anthropic refused. OpenAI accepted the monitoring package. Same stated principles, different architecture underneath. The whole defense of this system is that company policies can stand in for law. But a contract clause is a speed bump. A law is a wall. We have seen this movie before. After Snowden, officials defended mass surveillance the same way. We did not break the law. The right question was never whether they broke it. The right question was why they did not have to. That is the same question here. Why, in 2026, with AGI potentially 2 years away, with AI already inside classified military systems, did there still not have to be a law? Because the system was still running on conscience, and conscience is not governance. He said it himself. No one elected me. A conscience is not a constitution.